going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Blue Crew? This is Ball Hawk, the Fatima Farmers of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody. Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Hey, it is Friday. It is the start of a holiday weekend, and we got a whole lot of news that came out yesterday regarding the Detroit Lions. I actually thought about doing a second or third video yesterday about it, but I was like, you know what? Hey, it's kind of the off season. Let's leave some of it for the Duke Crew in the morning to start your day off right. All right, as you can probably tell from today's thumbnail, DJ Reader, he might know a thing or two, and he's apparently not afraid to talk about it. We also got some information about that came out, and this is not from even a Detroit Lions source. This is from national media beat reporters for other teams. Say, hey, the Detroit Lions tried to make a move during the draft to go up and get James Pierce Jr. We're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into this Trey Hendrickson thing. I get we've been hearing about it all offseason, but it does sound like it is legitimately picking up some steam. DJ Reader, as you guys know, did play with him in Cincinnati. Maybe he knows more than he's letting on. Maybe we should all pay a little bit more attention to this thing than maybe I initially thought. Whatever, we'll get into that during the main topic of the day. All right, real quick, before we get into James Pierce Jr. nearly becoming the Detroit Lions, Trey Hendrickson doing whatever he's going to do this upcoming season. And the 5 headlines now. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Making that march to 13,800 subs. We're roughly 50 subs away from it, so if you can help out with that, that would be awesome. Hey, great holiday gift, right? Hitting the subscribe button. Also, if you have a half second of time, it doesn't cost a dime. Reach on down and hit that thumbs up button, that like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. So if you can assist with that, man, that would be awesome of you. Last but never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text. Trump's a genius. You are now banned. I'm not dealing with your stuff, man. I've given you so many warnings about stuff, man. Oops. Oh, dang it. I hit the wrong one. Mary Smith, if you're watching, I hit the wrong button, so sorry about that. I'll have to try to fix that. So hit the wrong button. But Trump's a genius, man. I'm done with you and your political stuff. You're out of here. See ya, man. Mary Smith, I'll fix you. So sorry about that. But anyway, now that we're not distracted, if you're considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, let alone the continental United States, go ahead and give me a call. Shoot me a text. You now see the number on the screen. 269-998-2384. And again, Mary Smith, apologies. I'll get it fixed after the show. Trump's a genius. You're out of here, man. Ain't doing that stuff no more. All right, let's get the show rocking and rolling and going and into the first segue. And as you guys probably know, that is 5 headlines now. So, sorry, I got a little distracted there by having to boot somebody. But if you're looking to buy or sell property in one of the great state of Michigan, go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text. Been in the industry for over 30 years. You guys probably know the gist if you've seen this show for any length of time. All right, 5 headlines now. And again, Mary Smith, I'll get you fixed. Hopefully you can still see stuff in the comment section. Hopefully it's only a 5-minute timeout. Moderators, if you're on, if there's any way you can go in and get Mary Smith back in the show, thanks for the. I would be thankful. I just unfortunately can't do it while live on air, so that's my bad, Mary, and I will get it fixed. All right, Penei Sewell threat may have helped keep coach in 2025. Fan side story by Michael Boland. Hey, if you guys didn't know, Penei Sewell's a pretty good player. He's a real good player. In fact, man, it's hard to find anybody who's under 25, 24 years old that's better than Penei Sewell. Do you realize this guy's already got like over 4,000 NFL snaps in his career? That's a heck of a thing for a 24-year-old. But anyways, we get it. A lot of fans were aware that this offseason there could be a lot of coordinators, coaches for the Detroit Lions that leave. You know what? One of the coaches that nearly left is Frank Haley, the offensive line coach for the Detroit Lions, and he's a phenomenal coach from all different sort of metrics. players, coaches, other people around the league all say the same thing. They would love to have Hank Fraley over there coaching for them. I'm actually surprised he hasn't been picked up as a head coach, maybe at the collegiate level or whatever. This offseason, though, Penei Sewell, the all-world, all-everything player for the Detroit Lions, he went out there and went ahead and said to Frank Haley, he told him, man, if he wasn't coaching here with the Detroit Lions, Penei Sewell would retire. So whether or not there's any validity to that statement, we get it. Hank Fraley decided to stay with the Detroit Lions, turned down some overtures to go somewhere else. Yes, he did have some interviews. At the end of the day, he decided not to do anything. That being said, we all get it. Aaron Glenn took off. Good for him. Became a head coach of the Jets. And then Ben Johnson, as you probably are well aware, is the head coach now of the Chicago Bears. It sounds like he's not off to a great start, but it is early in OTAs for the Bears. Do you think that Penei Sewell is just showing a sign of respect for Hank Fraley, his thoughts on him? Or do you think there's some potential validity to the fact he would have retired? I personally don't think he would have. But, hey, either way, shape, or form, Hank Fraley's going to remain with the Detroit Lions, at least for now. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Lions star already given approval of new offense in action. MSN, story by Richard Lewis. Hey, speaking of Penei Sewell, you know what? He's not just your average everyday player. He is an integral part of the Detroit Lions. And yes, he is a captain, a chief. He is somebody that I think everybody has a lot of respect for. In regards to an interview regarding John Morton, the new OC for the Detroit Lions, Penei Sewell came on out and said, hey, we haven't skipped a beat in practice. We haven't skipped anything when it comes to the offense. He really likes what Morton brings. Also said there's a lot of familiarity between what Ben Johnson did and what Morton did. Some of that may be because Ben Johnson was working with John Morton, or John Morton was working with Ben Johnson, however you want to term it, when the Lions started this new version of the offense a few seasons ago. Most of you guys know it. Morton was here with the team, so that's why MCDC had a lot of inside information regarding John Morton. A lot of, just familiar ideas were shared when it came to the offensive systems. Penei Sewell said, yes, we've all as players have heard that when Ben Johnson left, hey, things are going to fall apart with the offense. He said nothing could be further from the truth. The players are really all trying to help John Morton, and John Morton working with the players. Everybody kind of coming together, kumbaya moment, say, we're going to keep this thing growing, developing, and getting better as an offense. Penei Sewell even went on and said he thinks there's real possibility the Lions might just have the NFL's best offense this year that we've seen in recent decades. So you guys get it. Penei Sewell's probably hitting his prime, I guess you could say. Jameson Williams is getting better and better and better every year. St. Brown is in his prime. Sam Laporta. There's so much talent on this offense. I think it's going to be hard for anybody to really slow it down. And John Morton is probably not going to be the one person to slow it down. I think it is going to be better, maybe a little bit different. John Morton has said he's going to keep a lot of things the same. Doesn't mean there won't be some differences too. All right, Lions free agent pitch adds a $120 million 3-time All-Pro edge rusher to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, the Sporting News. This is kind of a segue into the main topic today, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But there are, some things that are going out there that there are rumors that the Lions or Brad Holmes, whoever you want to give credit to, are kicking the tires on potentially bringing in a different pass rusher. Whether it's just for depth purposes, whether it's potentially start, I don't know. But Von Miller is the subject of this particular story. Yes, he was once maybe the best, most dominant defensive player in the NFL. He's not that anymore. I think we get it. In the last 4 or 5 seasons, something like that, he hasn't played anything more than 13 games. Last year, he was off to a decent start, but then had another injury that slowed him down. Would you want to add Von Miller at this point in his career? I think he's like 500,000 years old. That's not an accurate statement, by the way. He's a little bit older. He's been in the league a long time. He can still get after the quarterback, but I don't think he'd be a permanent starter for you. I think he's probably at this point in his career more like 15, 18 snaps a game. He let him get after people. He's probably not setting the edge of the greatest, but on clear pass rush downs, would you want Von Miller out there? I guess we'll see what the Duke crew has to say about that. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Former Lions quarterback still unemployed as OTAs arrived. The New York Times, story by Nick Holden. Probably a bit of a surprise to most people, but this also needs to be a point of emphasis for everybody who's a Duke crew member or just a casual fan of the NFL. We all watched last preseason when Jake Fromm just looked like, man, he looked like a gunslinger out there. You guys probably all know the story. Came in one day of practice or whatever it was, maybe 2 days of practice, came into the Lions' final preseason game. He barely missed a pass during that game. He was slinging it deep, throwing it out, didn't even know the call signs, didn't know the adjustments, couldn't do anything at the line of scrimmage because he didn't know how to communicate it to everybody. And he had one heck of a game. Now, with all that being said, that's what our eyes saw as fans. He looked brilliant out there, but it does also go to show, since he's still unemployed, that, man, NFL coaches look for completely different stuff than NFL fans. And whether or not he signs with the Lions or some other team, I don't know. But I think it is a point of emphasis. We always hear that, hey, we've got opinions on this guy, that guy. We think this guy's a bum. This guy's great. Well, look what the NFL tells you about Jake Fromm, at least at this point in the offseason. A lot of NFL teams could have picked this guy up. A lot of quarterback-hungry teams could have picked this guy up. And let's face it, roughly 2/3 of the NFL are always looking for another quarterback savior. And Jake Fromm, as great as he looked last preseason, is still on the sideline watching Lions Talk Live with you and me. So we'll see if things turn around for him. I hope he does, man. It would be a great story for him. All right, last of the 5 headlines now. Tough rehab helped the Detroit Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson develop perspective. Free Press, Jared Ramsey with this one. Most of you guys probably watched the player coaches interviews, and man, I just feel bad about booting Mary Smith. Mary, I hope you're watching this. I hope you heard me say it. We'll get it fixed. It might be after today's show, unless one of the mods can get in there and do it. I hit the wrong button on the wrong person, so sorry about that. But anyways, tough rehab with Aiden Hutchinson development perspective. Hutchinson is fully clear to return. He announced that yesterday. We had a story about it, I want to say a week or two ago, and that should be great news for Detroit Lions fans. Now, Hutchinson, having gone through all this, quote, I never stayed in the hospital in my life, Hutchinson said Thursday at the Lions practice facility. So staying in the hospital for a couple of days in Dallas, it was one of the most miserable experiences I probably had in my life. I sat there watching my team play, knowing I could go out there and help them, knowing that with me out there, we could be a little bit better. I've got a lot of belief and a lot of love in the entire team. It's just like any athlete out there. You'd rather be on the field than off the field, and I felt like I was letting my brothers down, end quote. So with all that being said, we've been talking in recent weeks about Aiden Hutchinson. Could he actually be better this year? Because he's going to have a massive, massive chip on his shoulder. I think there's a lot of possibility for that. Excuse me. I think Hutchinson may come out, and I don't know if he's going to have 7.5 sacks in 5 games to start the year, but I do think he's going to come out very determined to prove to everybody, prove to himself. The injury, it happened. It's not stopping me. It's not slowing down my career. The injury, it was gruesome. We get it. But you know what? He's still here and going to be here for a long time with the Detroit Lions. Still going to be one of the best defensive ends. Let's not forget, part of the reason most athletes make it to a high level, the professional level, is because they have a lot of self-belief, a lot of self-confidence. He's going to come out and I think want to reestablish from a mental component, not just on the physical plane of the football field, that he is a dominant defensive end, and he's going to want to take it out on the other team's running backs, quarterbacks, etc. Let's see what Aiden Hutchinson does this year, but I do think you're going to get an energized, probably somebody who's going to drink 2 or 3 Mountain Dews before the game, Aiden Hutchinson this year. All right, that all done, set out of the way. Let's get on over to the main topic of the day. I think we got a lot of things in play today to kind of break down, digest, and analyze. And Mary Smith, I'm going to owe you a Mountain Dew for hitting the button on you versus the other guys. So, again, apologies. I'll try to get it fixed. Hopefully it's just a 5-minute one and that you can get back in. I feel bad about that, but it was just, I guess, trying to do too many things at once. All right, main topic of the day, as you guys tell from the thumbnail, DJ Reader has given his thoughts on the Trey Hendrickson situation. Remember, they played 3 seasons together, the Cincinnati Bengals. Sounds like they're pretty good friends. Now, before we get into that, remember the NFL draft. A lot of us, I would suspect everybody who's an actual Detroit Lions fan, not just a casual observer in national media saying, hey, mock draft this, mock draft that. We've got the Lions taking this guy, that guy, whatever guy. most people who are tied to the team, whether, national media, or I should say local media, like the Free Press or News, whatever, people actually pay attention to the team on a regular basis. And I think everybody in the Duke Crew, every content creator, had the Lions trying to go for it and acquire a defensive end. We've heard from Brad Holmes a couple days after the draft. Lions tried to make some trades. He came out and said that. We are aware that the Lions tried to trade up. I want to say it was with, who was it? Like somebody, was it Jacksonville or something, that they were trying to work on a trade, but then the Jags got to trade up with the Browns, and then there was something like the Saints and Lions trying to make a trade, and then there was somebody else. I don't know. But long story short, the Lions, we now know, did try to move up a couple spots. James Pierce Jr. How would he have fit in? We can debate that probably at the end of the day, because would the Lions have changed to a 3-4? Would they have just said, hey, by year 2, we're going to put on 10, 15 pounds on this kid and then have him be a full-time defensive end? I don't know. I even talked to a couple people that said part of the plan would have been to move Derek Barnes permanently to defensive end and have James Pierce take over the Sam linebacker. I guess we can debate that at the end of time. It doesn't matter because James Pierce isn't going to be here. But with that also being said, we know that Brad Holmes now did try to acquire him. Unfortunately, lost out in a bidding war. It happens. With all that being said, DJ Reader this week has shared a lot of information in regards to Hendrickson, showing support for him getting a new contract, talked about the great friendship they have, what kind of player he is, all that kind of stuff, and then said, I really hope I get to be a teammate with him again. It sounds like that's a possibility, end quote. So let that be digested. This could be going one of two ways. One, is DJ Reader out of here and going back to Cincinnati? I guess that's possible. Or does DJ Reader know that the Detroit Lions and Brad Holmes are trying to make a move to acquire the veteran defensive end? For those who don't know, who have been maybe under a rock from Lions fandom this offseason, there's been all sorts of rumors and speculation that Trey Hendrickson could become a Detroit Lion. I think about every team in the NFL has been rumored to acquire him. But we also know in recent weeks, Trey Hendrickson has come out and said, I've not even talked to the Bengals. They haven't talked to me, yada, yada, everything in between. He hasn't talked to them in months or whatever it is. He's going to want a new contract. That part is clear. We also know the Detroit Lions have $40 million, almost $41 million under the salary cap right now. Trey Hendrickson's going to want a contract probably around $20, $25 million a year, somewhere around there. Can you, A, give up enough to get him? My guess, now that the draft's gone, you're probably looking at some late round picks to get him. And then B, can you give him a 2-3 year deal to get him on in here, get him to want to play for the Lions, and still re-sign everybody else? It's the $1 million question. Is there enough money to go around? Some people say the salary cap is fake. It's not really there. You can Scooby-Doo your way around it any time of the day. Others say, man, look at the Miami Dolphins, and they're probably going to have to sacrifice some guys either this year or next year because they're in cap restraints. I think that'd be a great way to word it. All things can be true. All things can be right. All things can be wrong. But it does appear this offseason, the Lions have tried to acquire a couple different people in the draft or free agency. Yes, there's all sorts of rumors that Zadarius Smith really has a handshake agreement with the Lions to return. I have no idea if that's going to happen or not. But I do take DJ Reader at his word here. He does know both parties, the Detroit Lions and Trey Hendrickson. He did come out and say, hey, sounds like I'm going to be a teammate with him again. So again, does that mean the Lions are getting rid of DJ Reader? Or does DJ Reader, the longtime vet, played with Trey Hendrickson 3 years in Cincinnati, have some sort of inside wisdom that the Lions are going to legitimately try to acquire this guy? I get everybody out there is probably about done with this story until something happens one way or the other. I don't know, but it is a Friday. It is the offseason. And with Reader's comments, on top of finding out that Brad Holmes is the front office of the Detroit Lions try to get James Pierce Jr., I think it does make us all have to take a moment of pause and say we might be a little bit more wrong with thinking that this has no opportunity to happen than we would have thought a week or two ago. All right, with all that done, set out of the way, we got about 10 minutes until Kurt the Hitman Steele gets here, so let's get to the Duke Crew. And hey, if anybody can reach out to Mary Smith, let her know I apologize. I hit the wrong stupid button. It happens. Moderators, maybe Moonscar. Okay, I see Moonscars should be good now. Hey, sorry about that, Mary. That's my bad. I hit the wrong button on the wrong person. But the other guy, hey, I've given you every chance in the world to silence that mouth. I'm not doing politics stuff here anymore. So you are donezo, my friend. All right, like I said, we got about 10 minutes, so let's get over to JDC starting us off with good morning, all. Back at you. Good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're having a phenomenal Friday. Henry Moore, good morning, Dooku, and same to you. JDC, great morning to you, Henry. Great morning to both of you. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke crew. What a team! Exclamation point. What a podcast. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! And hey, I agree with all the above. Henry Moore. And the long wait begins. Tick, tick. Ticking it on down, my friend. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. I was sitting in an ice bath reading about this yesterday. It does sound like Reader thinks we have been talking with the Bengals about Trey. It does. And again, you can look at that statement and look at it from two different perspectives. There have been some who have suggested this offseason that perhaps DJ Reader could be a cut casualty of the Detroit Lions. I really don't think so. I think he played very well last year. Why would you weaken that position? Money-wise, do we need whatever we'd save with cutting DJ Reader? Just like I know the stories with Khalif Raymond, or at least the thoughts. I do think there's some potential. A lot of guys could get cut. I don't think it'd be just for a financial situation point, but that's just my opinion. Man Barrett, good morning, all. Back at you, my friend. Clark, I was stunned that Brad tried to trade up for James Pierce Jr. Where would we have played him? Excuse me, question mark. Ugh, I would love to have that pickup. I think a lot of us do. We all get it. The guy was highly talented. A year prior to this draft, he might have been a top 5, maybe even the number 1 pick. But there were some thoughts that maybe his personality was wrong or whatever it was. I really liked the guy. I think we all get a ton of different teams, let them slide down the board. But once we got to like number 19 or 20, you started hearing all sorts of teams were trying to move up to acquire him. And then eventually somebody did pull off the trade to get him. I like him. I would have loved him to be here. Where would we have played him? Man, I don't know. But you know what? The good thing I learned a long time ago from coaching, you can have enough talent. You will find, if you're a good coach, you'll find a way to get the talent on the field. Big Eddie, greetings, salutations, Dooku. Where did you read that at, Clark? Question mark. I just don't understand how Pierce Jr. would have fit in. We have gone to a 3-4. It's possible we could have switched up the defensive front a little bit. Although, I mean, who knows where he'd gone. There were a few different reports out yesterday and I think the day before, too, that had it. And again, these weren't from Detroit Lions reporters. These were from reporters for other teams that caught wind of it and then shared it nationally. Attila Dunn played him opposite of Hutchinson, maybe? Probably at some point, whether or not you would have to beef him up. There were a lot of reports I know during the scouting combine because he wore a real loose-fitting sweatshirt when he was doing some of the workouts, that he was wearing padded vests and stuff like that to add weight to him. I do think he's going to have to beef up if he's going to be an end, a 4-3 end in the NFL. But you know what? Again, if he's that talented, you'll find a way to get him on the field. Trey, what's good, everybody? Question mark. Who here thinks Holmes is done working on the team? Question mark. I don't. Brad is always looking for the right deal. He is, man. And that's probably one thing this many years into the Brad Holmes experience that we can all say. Every day he shows up. Is there a way I can get this guy, that guy? Who should we look at? Could it be Von Miller? Sure. Could it be Trey Hendrickson? Sure. Could it be, another quarterback? Who knows, man? Maybe they looked at bringing in another kicker or punter. I don't know. But to your point, I think Brad Holmes, every day he shows up for work, he's looking for ways to make the team better. That we can probably all agree on. Until then, as long as they can still re-sign J-Mo, Hutchinson, Laporta, Branch, etc., I'm for the trade. Me too. And I do think there's so many ways you can do creative financing. I do think that if you brought in Trey Hendrickson or somebody else, you can find a way to make deals happen. It's just whether or not you're willing to do it. Pierce, Stephanie Water, Reader does have connections there. If he said it, I tend to believe it. Yeah, me too. Now, again, Pierce, to the point of the comment, is he saying that he's going to be out of Detroit and going back to Cincinnati or somewhere else? Or is that comment to be interpreted as, Trey Hendrickson's coming to the Detroit Lions? Let's see. Pierce, Attila the Hun, it would be a 1-year rental to get a ring. Could be. Or, I think if you're going to pull off the trade, from what I know, and I probably don't know nearly enough about Trey Hendrickson, but from what I guess I would interpret of things, he's probably going to want a 2 to 3 year deal. But again, you could probably front load it the first year, second year, and then make the third year a team option to get rid of him if need be. Till then, I am fine with that. Jess, greetings, salutations, Duke Crew. The only reason I give readers' comments any kind of importance is due to the fact that they played together as teammates. I just don't see us giving Hendrickson a contract. Yeah, it'd be the only way you acquire the guy is if you're going to do it. Otherwise, he's sitting out for you too, I guess. Trey, sounds like they are pretty good friends. Just maybe DJ knows what's going on behind closed doors. I would say that's probably true. One way or another, I would agree with that, Trey. Stephanie Pierce Sargent, I would love to get Trey. I wouldn't think at this point would be too high. Other than the new contract, probably right. Yeah, I don't think you'd have to give up a lot of draft capital. Tell the Hunt would do 2 years, $40 million, all on this year's cap. Golf restructuring, maybe Golf would. Golf has, I don't remember it recently, but I do remember Golf when he signed a new contract saying, hey, the money's really not the thing. So I do get the impression from Jared Goff, he's got enough money coming in from other contracts. Plus, he hasn't really spent a lot of his money, I believe. So if he thought it would really help the team get a Super Bowl, I do suspect he would be willing to give up some of his contract dollars. France, I think you could get Goff, maybe a few other guys to shave $1 million or $2 million each to help bring him here till the done. Yeah, 100%. Because if you do the math on somebody's contract like Goff, let's just say he shaves off $3 million. When you think about the taxes and what he gives out of that $3 million to the government or to his agent, it's not as big as $3 million may seem because a percentage of that isn't even getting to him. I think you could Scooby-Doo it and get it down to a fairly manageable where you don't even blink your eye for someone who's used to making that kind of money type of dollars. Teledon or Reynolds, there you go. Drake, are we sure Holmes tried to trade for James Pierce Jr.? Yes. Well, again, nothing for 100% written in stone, but from multiple different reporters who are not Lions reporters say that they have Scooby-Dooed it and figured it out. That talent would have been great, though. Yes, it would have been. It would have been nice to have him here. I see where you said it doesn't fit in here. Pierce, it would be a rental, I think, for like a fifth. Could be. Pierce, the Bengals got their own problems. They do, man. They do indeed. The Trim Reaver, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Woo! Back at you. Susan, good morning. I think there are some defensive end options that are still pop up that we can look into adding before the season. Let Brad cook. Always going to let Brad cook, man. He is doing a great job as a GM. Robert, greetings to all and to the Super Bowl win. Yes, 100%. Let's go get that win. Let's see. 5 figures ready. I still think Smith is the guy we will add until proven otherwise. I think you're right. Until somebody else actually is signed or traded for, I do think, Zadarius Smith is the person who will end up here. Jessica, how much better would Trey be over Zadarius Smith? He would be better, in my opinion. Is it going to be egregious? Probably not. But let's look at it this way. A scale 1 to 10, let's just say Trey Hendrickson is a 9. Then Zadarius is probably an 8, something like that. So there's a difference. It's just not massive. So small. Morning, Peep. I'm happy, but sad we weren't able to pull off the move for James Pierce Jr. That would have answered a lot of needs for us. The only thing I would say so small is during the draft, all the Lions fans that were upset we didn't get, in the first, second, or third round a defensive end, that would have been quelled. People would have been happier and said, yeah, Brad's got a plan, look at him cook. And then probably any other move that they weren't happy with, they would have said, hey, just let Brad do what he's doing. He's doing a great job. But now that they didn't acquire a defensive end in round 1, 2, or 3, now any pick that we made that they didn't agree with, it was just more fuel to the fire, and it was probably a bigger issue. Hookadoo, I'm thinking bring Z Smith back and develop Ahmed Hussein. I agree, too. I agree. Voltron Force, Hutch said he's fully cleared. I did see that. We did talk about it. And yes, good to hear. It sounds like that's a story that was just confirming other information we had about a week or two ago, something like that on the show. JC, greetings, salutations, Coach and Duke Crew, exclamation point. Happy holiday weekend, everybody. Enjoy the weekend, my friend. Enjoy the holiday. Steve Rogers, I didn't check out the players' press conference. Anything big come out of those? Nothing earth-shattering, I don't think, but there was some good information from the guys. They obviously, a lot of them said they really like the offense with John Morton so far. Central Scrutinizer, greetings, salutations, Coach Duker. One pride, Hendrickson is a long shot. Maybe not as long as we once thought, but again, it comes down to how you view that DJ Reader comment. Is Reader out of here, or is he saying, Hendrickson's coming here? Pat the Rock, let's see, Davenport is the answer. Don't say that to Pierce. Michigan Panther Bride, good morning, Coach Dan the Duke Crew. Back at you, my friend. Mike the Marine Gunny, howdy, Dan the Duke Crew. Happy Friday. Woo! Dre Day, clickbaits are saying Z is going to the AFC. Who knows, man? We'll wait and see. I hope he stays here. But hey, if somebody makes him an offer he can't refuse, can't blame the guy. All right, guys. Let's see, Byron. I'll believe it when I see it. Me too, man. Me too. At the end of the day, I'm kind of over it. I know I put that kind of in the thumbnail, but you know what? We'll see what shakes out. All right, guys. It's about that time to bring over the man, the myth, the legend, the man that stands taller than anybody else in Lions fandom. Let's go over to our special guest of the day, Kurt the Hitman Steele. It's a Kurt Steele kind of world, and we're all just living in it. How you doing, my friend?
What up, though, man? What's going on? Good morning, Duke Crew. What's going on?
Just going through some things. Again, Mary Smith, sorry for hitting the wrong button on you. It just, I was hitting it on somebody else, and then the screen moved. So hopefully you'll let me know, and the Duke Crew know that you're okay. Let's get to you, though, Kurt, real quick. DJ Reader had some comments. There's two ways you can look at these comments. Could DJ Reader be out of here, no longer with the Detroit Lions, or does he think there's any kind of validity to Trey Hendrickson coming here?
I'm not paying. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm not paying too much. I watched the press conference, and really, that comment just kind of skipped right over it. I kind of didn't really realize he said that. To be honest with you, do I think Trey Hendrickson will be a Detroit Lion? I don't think so. It's if you look at the cap implications of bringing a guy like him in, guys led the league in sacks and pressures the last two seasons combined. I mean, like, he's going to want a monster deal. You look at what my man over in Cleveland got, and then of course Mad Max, what he got out there and with the Raiders. Like, he's going to want that type of money. And the Detroit Lions have a substantial amount in their salary cap, but is it worth that? Because you're going to mortgage your future for a guy that's here. I don't think they do it. It's just something that the Lions have been dead set on signing their own guys first. Right. So I don't see them going outside of that. It just seems like the situation has just been out of hand with all the rumors and stuff like that. Even the other rumor about Pierce Jr. I don't know where that rumor started. That rumor is I don't believe that rumor at all. I think they were trading up for someone else. I don't think they were trading up for him. I think they were trading up for the defensive end out of Georgia, and they just happened to not be able to get, because nothing about James Pierce Jr. says Detroit Lion. Nothing about that kid says that he is a Lion. Nothing. So I don't believe it. I think they were going to trade up for someone. And the other team, I believe it was the LA Chargers, was that other team that was in the mix for that trade. Because I was listening in the car. I had to run an errand right quick this morning. But I'm not really paying into the hype for Trey Hendrickson, and I'm not paying into the hype for James Pierce Jr. So we can get that question out of the way, because already we can go into something else.
Yeah, I was trying to Scooby-Doo it when I heard that, suggestion that we would try to move up to get James Pierce Jr. I'm like, how do you fit him in? Because you've talked about it a lot before the draft. He's not a defensive end in our type of system. He just paid Barnes, so you're not playing him at the Sam. What do you think if they would have went for him? How would you have gotten him on the field?
I'd have fed him ham sandwiches all off season, and so he can put about 20 pounds on. That's just it. I mean,
my mom's legendary mac and cheese would have been, like 20 times a day. So
yeah, I had a friend with the high school that played offensive tackle down at Jackson State, and this is back in the early 90s. And he said, I talked to him in the summer after his freshman year, and he was like, they just had him like eating 24 hours a day, like eating protein just to get his weight up so he can play. And that's at a D2 school. So
right.
Yeah.
All right. So Penei Sewell had a lot of things to say. I'm not going to worry about the stuff where he said, hey, I'm going to retire if The offensive line coach, if Frank is out here, but he did talk about a little bit about John Morton's offense, talked about how he liked it. We're not missing a beat. At the end of the day, John Morton has come out and said to the media, we're going to change some things, but not everything, because a lot of things worked. Where do you think this Detroit Lions offense goes this upcoming year?
I think it pretty much stays where it was. I mean, and we've discussed this ad nauseum, man. We know that John Morton taught Ben Johnson this offense. He installed it. Right. And then Ben Johnson added his wrinkles. So why would John Morton change a thing about the system he implemented in the Detroit Lions? I mean, we know that there's going to be some tweaks and, other things that nature, when you have someone else take over the offense and he left to go somewhere else. It's going to be much of the same. I mean, I think that this year is going to be more of a Dan Campbell imprint on this offense than it was previously with Ben Johnson. But I think this is going to be what it is. You're going to have some explosive plays, and you're going to have some the running game is going to be massive, like it was last year.
Do you think we see the same amount of trick plays, or do you think MCDC wants that dialed back?
No, he wants that dialed back. He will use it when necessary, but he won't call as many. Definitely, there won't be as many on the play sheet as it was in the with Ben Johnson. When it's needed and the matchup can be exploited, I think he will use it then. I think that end of the year, that was kind of working on. That was kind of a little getting to under his craw, as you say down here in the South, with Dan Campbell. He's like, run the damn ball, and do to your strength. So even in that game, I brought this play up against the Packers. You have a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or whatever it was, and you try to run an outside zone, and you have David Montgomery or just the offensive line, even with Jahmyr Gibbs, he can pound the rock for a yard. Right. And you on an outside zone. No, man, you run that inside with Frank Ragnow, and you let those guys go in there and do what they need to do.
I'm a big believer in paying attention to body language, because I believe, people can say whatever with their mouths. We all wear masks, around different groups or whatever. We, say politically correct things, but your body language, especially in the heat of a game, that's usually pretty spot on. You go back to watch that Washington Commanders game, and I remember the second drive, we're up 7, something like that, 7-0. We go empty backfield, 3rd and 1, and you watch Dan Campbell on the sideline, and then on the Jameson Williams trick pass. I get your point that I don't think he wants to do so much of that anymore. Just, keep it basic, keep it simple. All right, all that being said, now let's talk about the defense real quick. We all get last year, part of the reason why the Lions maybe weren't more successful in the postseason is because of the mounting defensive injuries. This year, Hutchinson, we found out yesterday for sure he is fully cleared, at least according to him. What are your expectations going into week 1 against Green Bay for this defense?
Oh, man. Disruptive. If we can definitely get Hutch back out there, DJ Reader, Talik Williams, those guys will be disruptive. You have Derek Barnes back. You have Alexander Deloney, Captain Jack. Your other guys on the outside to be healthy. So I'm expecting the defense that we had at the beginning of last season, the type of defense we had at the beginning of last season. Of course, we had some pieces that are not there, like Carlton Davis, but you're going to have a what do you call that? You're going to have a healthier defense than we had at the end of last year. That's what some people really – I know, like I said, I've said this ad nauseum, man. It's irritating for people to talk about our defense as at the end of the season in the playoffs as if it was the defense we started the year with. Man, we were playing guys off the street, man. The guy who was the sparkless guy that was delivering water was playing on the defensive line. Come on, man. You got to look at this and look at this defense as we're getting healthy. You're going to have a lot of healthy bodies back on the team. And it's going to be hard to keep all of them because of the fact that it's going to be so hard to get all of these guys on this roster under the salary cap and just on the 53-man roster. or the whatever the 60, whatever the 70, whatever with the practice squad, because of course how Dan Campbell says it's just all one roster. We don't differentiate between good morning there, Trim Reaper. Good morning, Cynthia. You look at it as everyone's on this team and everyone's expected to play and contribute during the season, so it doesn't matter.
If we all get the idea, and I know some people already commented on it in the Duke Crew comment section, Brad Holmes always seems to be trying to improve the team during the season, preseason, yada, yada, yada. If you were Brad Holmes right now and you were out there or just trying to guess what Brad Holmes may or may not do, where do you think he targets some further improvements before week 1?
I think a solid veteran backup safety. That's what I mean. You look at it. You look at beyond our 2 starters, very limited experience on behind those guys. We got Lawrence Strickland and you have Dan Jackson. One's a rookie and one's a second-year player that was undrafted. Because we let the other guy, who got in trouble, so we let him walk last year. So
Brandon Joseph,
yeah. And I like, and he was becoming a solid player. I mean, but of course the off the field issues, got him, you got the ride player. So
right.
Yeah, that's my one thing that I would say, that's what I would like for him to do. I can't say that he's going to do that or not, because me and Brad win. He's not in my contact, so so I don't know what he's going to do, but I would like him to add a veteran safety. Doesn't have to be a starter, but someone with some kind of cachet in the league, saying, to back up Kirby and Brian Branch.
All right. I mentioned this yesterday on the show that this weekend I was going to put out a special episode, I guess you could say. So this is going to be a little bit of,
I'm waiting.
I know you'll see it this weekend. So okay. This question will somewhat segue into that. If you had to assess the wide receivers in the NFL and you look at the Lions core, where would you place, say, in the top 200, each of the Lions wide receivers? The big 3, how about that?
The big 3 that we have.
Right.
So as a group, where would I place them, as a group or individually?
Go with individually, go as a group.
Okay. As a group, I would say top 10 to 15 as a group. Individually, Amon-Ra St. Brown's top 5.
Top 5? Okay.
Yeah. J-Mo, if he could get it together, he could be within that top 10 to 15. Tim Patrick is down the board.
Right.
Just look at him. He's down the board. Because of the fact that, he's a key piece, but he's not a, what do you call that? He's not someone who's like integral into the offense. He's a guy who, you can slot him in and, people don't pay attention to him. So you in that Green Bay Packers game where they were just weren't paying attention to Tim Patrick. So he was just eating them up because they were so focused on Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially in the red zone, or Sam Laporta. So he could just slide in the spots and make his presence felt. To be honest with you, our third wide receiver is not even a receiver. It's Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right.
So
how much do you think he gets motioned out into the flats or put in the slot or something this year? Do you think Morton uses him more?
I think he does. I think with the addition of Tashard Choice, man, I think he's going to be more of a focal point in the offense, even though he was last year. You look at when Demo went out last year, man, Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely was the motor of the offense last year.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you, if you had to guess some of the guys that will be sophomores this year, so Manu or whoever else, Aaron Arnold, Rakestraw, whatever, who do you think amongst them? Terrion Arnold played a lot last year as rookie, so maybe he's not fair to throw in there. But out of the rest of them, what do you think really makes a jump this year?
Christian Mahogany.
I think he's going to do anything.
I think he's a starter. Vaki has his role. He's a special teamer. He's a utility back, come in can spell Demo or in Gibbs, but actually he's behind Craig Reynolds in the lineup. If you look at the lineup card, the depth chart, man, he's behind Craig Reynolds, and for a reason, because Craig Reynolds produces, man. Say what you will about Netflix, man. You know what I'm saying? When he's called upon to do his thing, man, he goes out there and he makes some impactful plays for the offense. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm with him, and he's reliable. You know what you're going to get from him. So, All right, man. We'll get you ready for your show and everything else in between, Professor Steele. So, hey, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody where they can find you, help support you, and your great content.
Man, you can check me out on the Boss Up Ball Out podcast. We will be live this morning at 8. Got a special guest coming on. We're going to be talking about Hutch and some other things. So make sure you tune in at 8. Of course, we do our show Mondays and Wednesdays for our recorded shows with my man, Coach Jones, and my other fella, Big LL Couture. So come and check us out. We're going to be kind of powering down for a little bit after OTAs, and then we'll pick it up back up when training camp starts. So we'll be doing some shorts and everything like that. So we're going to take our little summer break, hiatus for a few weeks, just do some shorts and things of that nature. So, but make sure you tune in Mondays and Wednesdays, through OTAs, and then we'll pick it up back again, full slate of shows during training camp.
All right. He is Kurt the Hitman Steele, Professor Steele. Some say he's got an S on his chest because he is Superman. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and we'll see you next time, my friend.
Dan, thanks for having me, man. See you guys at 8 o'clock.
We'll see you then. All right, guys, real quick, we'll get over to you guys real quick. Before we get on here, I do have to cut off a little bit early today just because of some work stuff. Hey, if there is some sort of breaking news later today, I'll get over to you as quick as possible. Otherwise, if you would be so kind, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, hit all the buttons, hit the subscribe button, hit the button for the button for the button, everything. Mary Smith, man, super sorry about that. It sounds like it got all fixed, so that's good. Thank you, moderators, for helping out, Moonscar Blade or whoever got on it. So, hey, I let a lot of things go on the show, but I do not want this to be a political show. If you cannot respect that, especially after 475 different requests to not do it, then I gotta say you're not here. So this is a sports show, mostly about the Detroit Lions. We'll keep the show to that. Yes, overall already, I got to get some work stuff done today. So hope you all have a great day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. Be a good human being. And we'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody. You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.